Hi.
Hi everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Shall we wait a bit or shall we begin?
Yeah, you can begin.
We can begin, right? I'll firstly I want to begin by reminding everyone that it's International Dog Day today. So happy International Dog Day to all us doggy people.
Happy International Dog Day. Yes.
Celebrate the best species there is. Um, okay, so I'll begin. I'm Pradnya Hatangdi. I am a certified canine trainer and a behaviorist as well. I also do animal assisted therapy and activity work with my dog Kiss. And I'm really excited to be talking about indies and the pandemic and the effect that they have together. Um, Now we'll introduce Leena Ukil, who's also a very, very amazing certified, in fact, internationally certified canine trainer and behaviorist. And she specializes in cases of reducing aggression or looking at aggressive dogs or handling aggressive dogs as well. Hi, Leena.
Hi. Good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Shall we? Yeah, so we're going to be talking about indies today, and you have two indies of your own. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that as well?
Yes, sure. So this is one of my favorite topics, right? Indies, because my introduction to dog training was through my interaction with the stray dogs outside my street.
Right.
So pretty much the first few years of experience, learning experience, it has been Indies, and I have two, and both of them are from adopted from the street outside my house. Um, Quite amazingly, actually, because I adopted one of them, is when I took Sharon Merchant's course and wanted to understand why my dog was being aggressive or growling and stuff like that. Um, so
Yeah.
it's always been my favorite topic, Indies. And given that during the pandemic, and maybe in the last 1 or 2 years, I would say last 2 years, um, more and more people are adopting or getting the indies as pets at home. So this is a good time as any to give a little bit of gyan, if I say, to some of the other pet owners about how
Very
to
much.
manage the indies. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
think even what do you say, not being fed or losing their source of, let's say, daily food or so. I think the adoption or what do you say, the rescue processes have changed over the last year because of the pandemic as well. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
overall, I guess cases in that sense have gone up.
Yeah, yeah. And more people are now open to getting indies as pets, but they also do struggle with them. So
Yeah.
today's talk is going to be, I really want to like give them a little bit of, educational information as well as a few tips how to handle indies once they've gotten them home.
Yeah.
And maybe we can begin the presentation where, m- yeah, maybe some people just need to know who are the indies. Indies also seems to be a very new word that has come up
Yes.
as a way to call these dogs. So most of these dogs are actually called as stray dogs, right? That's their first introduction. So for us to understand who are the indies, I would say that to most people it's a stray dog, and the
Yes.
word is so stuck now that even when you have a stray dog that you have adopted and it has a collar and a leash and you're in the lift and some child will come up to you, auntie, what dog is this a stray, right? That's the word that
Yeah.
sticks with everyone.
Very
um
true.
yeah. So mostly known as stray dogs, there are approximately about 30 million stray dogs in India, and by stray dogs we mean dogs that do not have a home, that are nicely kind of managing outside. These are, so you do have feral dogs in them, but the strays are
Right.
mostly what you're talking about. The other way people call them are desi dogs. I like that term a little bit more. It's
I've heard
easy
it
to think
first from
of.
you. So yeah.
So yeah, I call them desi dogs now.
Yeah.
And these are the desi dogs are the dogs that people see on the street. Keep in mind that these are mix genetic
Right.
background, right? We call them
Right.
mongrel. Um, there's another term that has been coined quite some time back, but and people have used it, including myself, used it maybe wrongly, which is the indogs.
The
So
indogs.
indogs actually doesn't stand for it stands for Indian native dog, and the Indian native dog is not the dog that we are seeing on the streets outside our house. Okay, so the
Right.
outside houses, those are desi dogs and stray dogs, but the Indian native dog is actually the aboriginal land race of India. You will find them throughout India in different villages and everything, and they are what I would say the genetically uh, pure dog breed of India. Um, and as we go through the slides, we'll see. So these are not so the dogs that we see in our houses are mixed version of these Indian native dogs. They're not pure. The dogs that we have are not the pure dogs, but the in dogs are the pure indigenous, or what you say, the paria dogs. And
Right.
of course, my
The ones
mom's
untouched by human intervention, let's
yes,
say. Yeah.
yes, yes. So these are naturally selected. They were
Yeah.
not selected for breeding specifically, like how the other foreign breeds have been done. So they are, of course, they're very uniform. If you went to different villages throughout India, you'll see they look similar, similar color, pointy ears, kind of short. So they're very similar.
Brown, more browny, I
And the
guess.
other, yeah, yeah. And the other words that the favorite word that these Indies are known as my mother will say, "gali ka kutta," like "इस गली के कुत्ते को इधर से निकालो" types. So these are the typical. I think the word stray as well as the word "gali ka kutta" is a little demeaning,
Yeah.
and it's mostly the term that's used in cities. Um, it is also carries this low respect for these indies dog, and today's talk I really want to hopefully change the mindset of a few people saying that these indies are beautiful dogs that one should really appreciate and respect. um,
Yes.
yeah,
Very much agreed. I think oh yeah, there you go.
yeah. So yeah, carry on. What were you saying?
No, I said I think you're right about that. I think we sometimes forget about having dogs for the reasons that they want. We want the dogs, I think, and you refer to them somewhere. I think humanize again and say "gali ka kutta" because we're using them sort of in human emotions as well. The same unfortunate phrase.
Right.
But yeah, today is a good day to get rid of that one.
Yeah, and that's why I'm using this picture. So at some point, when there was no influx of foreign breeds in India, which I would say is quite a few years back, when people hadn't started importing foreign breeds, the
Yeah.
Indian Spitz, which is one of the Indian breeds that we have, was very very popular. And if you remember the movie of Salman, Hum Aapke Hain Kaun,
I'm not
I
there.
think his name was Toffee or something like that, something
Tuffy, Tuffy.
Tuffy, Tuffy. And really, this dog
He
was
played cricket, okay?
he was very very popular, and yeah, very good looking, very small, very hardy. So I'm just going to show you a few pictures of the Indian dogs that we have, um, and I will lead you into like what is today's Indian pet in the house. Okay, so these are there are approximately many different Indian breeds. Native to, I won't say native to India, but they are from Indian origin. Basically, these are Indian origin, Indian breeds.
Yes.
So Indian Spitz is one of them. The Paria, as I said, otherwise known as the Indog. Indog is also part of one of the Indian breeds. As I said, they're very uniform, pointy ears, kind of shorter. Um, Generally kept as a guard dog, or some of them are shepherd dogs. They shepherd sheep and cows and stuff like that. You have the Buli Kutta, which is very popular across Pakistan and India. And it's more popular in Pakistan, even though this one's origin is actually Indian.
Indian.
And these have been traditionally used for dog fighting. So not the ideal pet dog for home, but the reason for me to show these different pictures is actually to just look how gorgeous it looks like. It's a good looking dog,
Lovely.
and we have foreign breeds equivalent to Bully Kuttas that
Right.
people do get. for themselves, but they may not
Yeah.
be aware that Indian breeds by themselves carry bully kutta, like the same breed,
The
on the
original.
breed
Yeah.
specific. You have, of course, a Mudhol hound, um, once known as the princely dog. Mostly did a lot of guarding, as well as lot of like hunting. They were hunting dogs, mainly hunting dogs. And of course,
Yeah.
when the Indian government banned hunting, then these hounds were, of course, their utility was not theirs. But thereafter, they've been used for racing. It's pretty similar to the greyhounds that some of the other countries use. Slender body, beautiful temperament. Of course, they need a lot
Gorgeous.
of
Yeah.
space, but gorgeous looking, and they're really good runners. Um, you have a similar breed called the Rajpalyam, again, one of the dogs of the royals. Um, Even now, at least the Rajpalyam and Mudhol Hound, they have a breeding program so that they can be bought back from very less numbers. Some of the dogs are also getting extinct, so some
Right.
programs exist to bring them back from that. Um, I really like this dog as well. This is one of the
Janang.
hairless Indian dogs, Janangi, and again, look how beautiful they are. So I think my whole idea of showing these Indian
Yeah.
breeds, and just to end this bit, is that there are about 21 Indian dog breeds.
Wow, that's a
Some
big
of
number.
them, we even have an equivalent of the Mastiff. You have the Indian Mastiff. That's also a very good looking dog. So there are a bunch of breeds that are still there, smaller numbers. You have the Gaddi Kutta, those that are in Himachal and stuff. Equivalent of, let's say, a Saint Bernard or something, very furry, very good looking.
Yes.
Then some of them, of course, no more. They're extinct because we don't have in India. We don't have, how do I say, a breeding program, as well as at the same point, we also do not have them recognized by any of the kennel clubs, which is a very sad thing, because let's say even the
Yeah.
previous dog that I was showing you, this is a 5,000-year-old dog breed that we're talking about. So definitely they should be recognized by some of the um, Kennel Club, the international
Ken
kennel
clubs.
club,
Yeah.
even at least by the Indian Kennel Club. So the Indian Kennel Club identifies a few, but not all of them. And somehow there has been, how do I say, more appreciation for foreign breeds rather than of Indian breeds, right? Do you find that
Right.
among people that you speak to?
Yeah, a little bit. I think I would agree with you a little there. I think I get the point of showing what kind of dogs these are as well. I think the fascination with some breeds are, higher for whatever reason, which is misunderstood, I guess, but definitely so. I've noticed
Yeah.
it as well.
Yeah, and mind me, I'm not talking about this saying that, oh, we should go adopt these. Definitely not. We cannot bring some of these dogs into home. Most of these dogs you can't get into home, because these are the equivalent of the working dogs that exist in the foreign breeds. This is just to give an idea, to just educate that as a general pet owner,
Yeah,
or as an Indian pet owner, we should have appreciation for our Indian breeds.
Indian dogs,
And
absolutely.
what has been observed is that there's a rapid decline in the native breeds due to like a cultural dislike. We all like, desi kutta, like Indian breed, who cares, kind of a thing. But maybe
Ghar
we
ki
should
dal.
all appreciate them a bit more. And I found this article pretty interesting, which says that the Indian dogs are dying because everyone wants a Labrador, and it may not
Ah,
be, even though this shows like as if I'm saying that the um, uh, get Indian. Everybody should get an Indian. Should not get a Labrador. No, the dog that you get in your house, of course, and as we will talk about Indian dog adoption into the house, the dog that you get into your house has to be well suited to your house. Of course, it should be liked by you. So some people have, of course, if I want to get a Labrador or I want to get a golden retriever, of course, I have the right to get them, because when you have an appreciation for desi dog, doesn't mean you have to get a desi dog home, right? And as I said,
right.
these Indian breeds that I'm showing you, they are not actually the dogs that are meant for adoption into homes. They are not meant for apartment houses. That was just to show you that these are the different kind of Indian breeds that do exist. And just the way
Yeah,
we are in awe of some of the foreign breeds, we should also be in
right.
awe of the Indian breeds.
I mean, the
Um,
speed on some of these breeds is just awesome. A few that I've seen over the years, at least, especially like you're saying, the Rajapalam or the Huntpol. I mean, the way they run, it's a sight to see. Of course, because of their instincts of what they were bred to do, but it definitely is a sight to see, and the way their sort of lean bodies walk across well, I can't say street, but walk across a Maidan or something of that sort. It's definitely something to be in awe of.
Yeah, and I think people often forget, which is true for any dog that come home, that these breeds have been bred for a certain reason. So most of the Indian dog breeds have been bred for either they were guarding dogs or they have been hunting dogs or they've been herding dogs. These are the main three categories that you can divide into them. So that should be always in the back of mind if you were to get any of these uh, authentic Indian breeds. But let me bring back to the slide to what is today's indie dog that is getting adopted into the house, and that is something that looks like this. This is the common indie at home that we adopt, and that when we tidy and when we go to train, these are the dogs that we are
Yes,
training. And these are, of course, not the 21 Indian breeds that we were talking about. These are mixes. Okay, these are what we would say mixed genetic background, and they're mostly some combination from the Indian Paria dog, the in dog that we were talking about, mixed with different breeds, and many of those mixes are also from foreign breeds. So when the foreign breeds have come into India, they have mated with the Indian Paria dog, and then we have these set of beautiful mixed Indian dogs or Indian strays or Indian mongrels that
right.
we have on the street. And I'll be surprised if anyone has gotten them from like generation and generations of home breeding. It's mostly either you've gotten them from the street or you've gotten them
Right.
from somebody who had an Indian stray dog the previous generation, which has then given birth at home. Sometimes when they've given birth at home, they have not mated with another Indian mixed dog, but they have actually mated with a foreign dog. Um,
That's a
what
mix
I
of a
find
mix.
yeah, yeah. And what I find amazing is so the first picture is of Ruby, this white and brown dog, and
Oh,
pick it up from Bombay. But then I go to Calcutta, let's say 2 years back, and you have exactly the same featured and same colors and same kind of dog even in Calcutta. So even though we are talking about them being like these mixed dogs, these mixed
yeah.
dogs themselves have then traveled across India. So you do find similar, how do I say? So if there's a person in Delhi adopting an Indian dog or a Desi dog and a Bombay adopting a Desi dog, at some point they can be adopting similar looking and similar temperament dogs. So these have
Right.
now become a breed of their own, I feel. What we call the stray dogs or my favorite Desi kuttas. Um,
Yeah.
uh, you can maybe subtype them into a few that have, let's say, hound-like features. So Alaska, who's at
Right.
the bottom first picture, he has very hound-like features, um, hound-like temperament. Yes, the snout is longer. The rib cage can be seen, the protruded chest, and then you have more like rubies who look a little bit more paria than any other thing. So the reason for me to show this picture is to say that they look like this. Again, very good looking, but keep it in the back of your mind that
Gorgeous.
these are genetically mixed dogs. Very difficult to maybe slot them into what can be their working kind or what can be their skill sets.
Yeah.
But as we go through the slides, I'll try to give you a few tips as to how um, we can go about training them and understanding them and maybe categorizing them.
We have
So
some
the next
immense
one,
support on the comments, though. Thank you. I will show you
uh,
some, I guess. You just.
okay.
Oh yeah, lots of people on Team Indies.
Yay.
Yay, Indies, and Sahil Sharma has recognized that it's Tuffy Wala Kutta. That's for the Spits, the Indian Spits. Awesome. And Sunny Kumar says hello as well. Hi.
Hi. Yeah.
Sorry, back.
Hopefully,
Yeah,
yeah. Hopefully everybody will yeah, find the talk interesting.
definitely so.
So as I said, the common Hindi or the Desi Kutta at home that all of us trainers are training, or some of pet owners are having. Um, Apart from them being awesome, of course, they are extremely smart. Okay, for all the bad words it gets on the street as stray dogs and gali ka kutta or chichi usko nikalo,
Oh
he
gosh.
smells and this and all of that. They're extremely smart. They have survived on the street for years and years, so um, they are smarter than the average dog, average
I
foreign
think
dog
if
that
I've,
comes in.
I've definitely learned, I think, over the years, especially from Indies, and I think I've changed my ideas about training or, um, all of that. I think all of that has happened, especially because of Indies. So you're very, very right there.
Yeah. And in my case, because I learned from the first dog was Indies, when I went to that other dogs, and I'm like, okay, okay, I have to do my training because it's very rigorous and different to Indies, and then I get this really cute retriever Labrador. I'm like, okay, I don't have to be training you this way. I can be a little more easier on you or whatever.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
so yeah, so they're smart, easily bored. Anybody who owns a
Easily
dog,
bored.
indie dog, will know that they're easily bored. One of the things that everybody loves and I love about Desi puppies is that they have a very strong ethic about pee and potty training. If a stray dog
Absolutely.
has come home after spending maybe even 2-3 weeks extra on the street, you will have no problem in training it to pee on the right surface because it will already know that you're not supposed to do it at home. Um, they are highly adaptable. So because of their stay on the street and they have their survival through even like a Bombay kind of city, right? Which is tough. It's tough on
It's
humans. So
tough.
you can yeah, imagine how tough it's on dogs. But they adapt and they're highly adaptable. So then when we apply that to them, their living conditions at home, we can always use that to our advantage. They make great guard dogs. I have many clients who have a foreign breed inside the house for showcase, and then we have the Indian dogs outside the bungalow as their guard dogs. And
Really?
while other people might, yeah, I have a few clients other than I train them for the, and while other people might feel, oh, it's so unfair and everything. What makes me happy is that you're
It's
utilizing
pretty
the Indian
interesting.
dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is meant, and the dog, the Desi dog is completely satisfied because it's getting to do something that it loves. So even
Yes.
just like we say for other foreign breeds, if it has a job to do and then you give them that job, they're quite happy. Um, and of course, they're good guard dogs, even if they're apartment dogs. Ring the
Yeah.
bell if a Desi dog has not, if especially if you have an adult Desi dog. So I got Ruby from the street. He has never heard a bell. He doesn't understand the concept of bell and door opening and everything. But day one, bell rings, he barks. And he says, okay, there's somebody at the door. So they have those instincts quite inbuilt. Um, as I mentioned before, many are rescued dogs, if not all. Um, uh, and rescue dogs, by the word rescue dogs, I don't mean that they are being rescued from a bad condition or they are being trauma. What I mean by rescue dogs is that they were on the street and now they've been brought home. So most of them are pretty much that's the case, right? Do you
Yeah.
know of any Desi dogs that are actually from maybe generation of home breeding or something?
I do know one, just like you said, that is an accidental. I think it was an inside outside dog that was an accidental, that had an accidental litter. And of course, it was born into the pandemic, as we're talking about. And similarly, they had to basically adopt the puppies or keep the puppies as well because they couldn't find families to take them on at that point because we were literally not getting out of our houses or there was no action going on. And it was tough from there on for sure because it was, as we know, chaotic.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely something like that where they pretty much didn't know which other dog, like who the father was basically of the puppies. But yeah, so it's a half, like the mother was an indie dog that was originally on the streets and then in a home, and
Yeah.
then the puppies were straight away in a home. Let's say,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
Interesting case
So
to understand all over. Yeah.
yeah, and as you said, like most of the time it's like this, right? You don't know the father or
You
you
don't
don't
have
know
to
the
matter.
mix. So
Yeah.
basically, the common indie at home is coming from such a mixed background. Has more of pariah features, but
Yeah.
we don't know where it is mixed with a foreign breed, where it's mixed with different Indian these native breeds. What's mixed. It's very difficult to say. Um, yeah, it has happened. Some of the breeds have some of the stray dogs that you see in the street are over many generations. So as I said, you can see the similar dog maybe here, and then you can see it in Cal, or you can see here. And we have a dog outside my old house, which looks exactly like one of the Gaddi dogs in Himachal. And you'll think like, how can that
Really? Wow.
happen? Yeah, like so. One of my friends traveled, and she sent a picture, and we were like, oh, we couldn't distinguish them. So definitely, we
Wow.
know some of the Gaddi blood is in this dog as well. So. Uh, I'm pretty sure if somebody did a whole genetic study on them, these all the traits, that we will be able to subtype them into like again a set of different
What
groups.
kind?
Yeah, and in that way they are genetically similar to their siblings, brothers, sisters, and stuff. But
Yeah.
as an overall, it's a very mixed background, and a lot of foreign breed genes are also in them. Unlike what people might think, the Desi dog is extremely trainable. You and I both know that. The trick to
Definitely.
training them is to be one step ahead of them, right? Because they are so smart, you can't play it easy with them. One is to be one step ahead of them, and of course, one is to be training them early. Um,
Training them early is very,
yeah,
very,
get
very
a pup,
necessary. Yeah.
start training them. Also, one of my best reasons to suggest people who can manage
Yeah.
desi is that they are medically, like I barely go to the doctors. They're medically
Tip
very
top.
fit. Yeah, you do not need them to go to the vets as often as any other dog, and because of course, and that has its roots in the thing that Indian dogs have been untouched, right? They have been naturally breeding, they're naturally getting selected. So those that who are not of good medical condition do not survive. Whereas dogs that are highly in demand, so the foreign dogs that are highly in demand, because they're highly in demand, they have been bred indiscriminately, and
Right.
some of these genetic conditions now. Um, they're everywhere. Like I barely get to see some of these dogs without a medical condition, which
It's
is
really
sad enough
unfortunate.
anyway. Yeah. Um, the point here I'm trying to make is not that okay, people should not get foreign dogs. I'm just trying to say that the beauty of the common Desi dog is that because it's been untouched, it's quite like you won't have any worries from the at least from the medical side
The
of it,
medical angle.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Grooming is cut down, if we may add.
Say that
For
again.
most of them, the grooming, the over grooming or the grooming multiple times a week or so, that's normally cut down for Indies as well.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really like about Desi dogs is that um, they, because you said grooming, they do sunbathing, right? Like they love the sun. They like to chill in the sun when it's really hot, and that's again because of this street sense that if they sit in the sun, they won't get fleas and ticks, and any skin infection will go off, and that is such a blessing because at home they don't have carry that smell. They sit in the sun, the
Oh,
dog
very true.
smell goes off, and I don't have to bathe my dogs as often because they don't get as smelly or dirty as some of the other breeds with longer hair.
Yeah.
But having said that, my favorite thing to say, as this picture that we have on the slide, and maybe you can put that up, is
Yeah.
that all indies do not need a home. Look, and I specifically selected this picture because look how
What a sweet pic.
beautifully they have adjusted to the street. Is life tough on the street? Of course, definitely. Okay, there's no argument about that. But each of these dogs, and I see them often because I do a lot of work with the rescue dogs, and I also do a lot of feeding and stuff like that. We have a good culture of feeding and taking care of some of the street dogs, and okay, that might be a subsection of people, but that happens. But these dogs are happy because they've adjusted to the streets. They have their favorite. uncle or vendor who gives them a biscuit, who gives them food. Um, they either guard some shop or they guard some street. Um, they can you imagine, like I remember Shirin Merchant when she gives this uh, talks about this. Talks about this dog that wakes up in the morning and says, what should I eat
Oh,
today?
I
Which
love
cuisine
that
should I
story.
go eat? Should I go eat Italian or should I go eat Indian or whatever? And it has its choices, right? Should I go sleep in this park or should I go sleep under that bus stop? So always when we talk about Indian stray dogs, of course, the bad side is there because but I like to choose to look at the positive side. Okay, I know at least 20 street dogs that are outside my house that are
Right.
completely happy with what they have. Having said that, we do take care of the ones that are not doing well or those that get into an accident or get abused or whatever. We do take care of them, but not
I
all
can
indies
imagine.
need home. So when I have people who say that they are thinking of getting an Indian dog, a desi dog, or adopting a desi dog, I always ask them, why? Why are you adopting? And it's the same question even when they get a foreign breed. I say, but why are you getting a dog at
Yes.
home? So your reasons for getting a dog home should be right, and it should play an important part in your decision. Um,
Yeah. You know, I'd
so
like to.
now,
There was this sweetest Desi dog that was like 3-4 gullies away from me, and she just passed last year. And I used to really look forward to sort of meeting her on the street, away from my dogs, because one of them does not do well with dogs. But I genuinely looked forward to that street, and up to date, I really miss her, and I see that street, and I remember that little wagging tail, and she'd come, and I think a few of nice people in our in our gullies who lived around did a lot of gave her a lot of medical help in her last few years. But yeah, so like she meant a lot to the street. That's what I mean. She gave a name to the street. She gave a feeling to that street, and I'll never forget that.
and you I mean, if you deal with some rescuers and you'll ask them, and they'll tell you that if you then took that dog home,
Uh huh.
it's not necessary that dog would like it.
Yeah.
There are many dogs who from the street who will come to you and say, I want to go home with you. I really
Yeah.
love you and I like the way you take care of me and I want to go home with you. An equal number of dogs will say, sorry, I can come and visit you if you want, but I like my freedom. I want to be on the street. And when they're really sick, when
Yeah.
they're really old and they're sick, and even at that time, when you take them home and you give them a completely pain free and much better life, they are restless because all their life they have known a place, right? Which is, of course, not their apartment. And so they miss it.
Yeah.
But when you're getting a desi dog home, and let's now get to the crux of the talk, which is like, the reason of doing this talk was that when people have gone ahead and gone adopted a lot of desi dogs during the pandemic, and it has increased during the pandemic. And as you said, for many different reasons, it might be maybe rescues have gone overboard.
Yeah.
Maybe people are stuck in a particular place and they have a litter in front of them, and they feel
Right.
that they need to rescue. And many of them do need rescuing. Okay, there's no underplaying that. When these puppies are born on the street, sometimes they're on the street, car accident happens, mother is not there, puppies need to be rescued. Sometimes it's not a puppy, always it can be an adult dog as well who needs to be rescued. Um,
Maybe a serious
my
injury as well, I presume, something,
Yes,
or
yes,
an illness. I don't know. I don't know which way to say, but which genuinely needs daily care or something of that sort for
right,
a bit. I'm
right,
not sure of how that plays out as well, but yeah.
right. So my first question to anybody who's thinking, so if they contact us before they are going to adopt a desi dog, um,
Yeah.
then of course the question is, why are you getting it? Why do you want to get a desi dog and everything? And I always say emotions to one side and practicality towards one side. Okay, so uh, even though I say background in the beginning, I'm going to first talk about the second last point, which is experience equates to the level of rescue, which means
Right.
depending on how much experience you have with um, with dealing with trauma and that kind of a thing, that is how you should figure out what kind of a rescue dog you're getting home. So, of course, when we talk of
Yeah.
rescue dog, we have a full spectrum, right? Those who are completely no trauma, sweetly born to a dog on the street. The mother is happy, mother has had really lovely experience throughout its life. The puppies are happy, nothing bad has happened. It's born in a garden, goes from the garden into an apartment. That's one end. Then you have the other extreme where the mother is born on the street, has always been fearful itself, mated and gave birth to a fearful litter, and then the mother gets hit by a car, the puppies see it, and that's the other extreme, right? So when a person goes to adopt, I say, okay, where do you fit in this whole spectrum in terms of your experience, and of course your commitment to do it. It's not
Yeah.
enough for you to say, I want to rescue a dog because I feel bad for it. And this is something I always have a conversation with my animal rescuers and activist friends. And I say, all that we are all aiming for, the trainers, the owners, the rescuers, and including the pup, is that once a dog gets adopted, that it's not returned, right? And that's the truth
Very
with
true.
yeah, and that's the truth with any other breed as well, right? Even if you were getting a Labrador or a Beagle or something, all that we want at the end is that the dog should not be returned, and that the dog can fit into the family, right? But when we have an added layer of rescue on this spectrum, in terms of trauma, how much trauma and how little trauma, then it's also important to know how well equipped you are as an owner to be able to handle it, right? So experience counts and commitment counts there. So, and that's what I meant by
Yes.
experience equates to level of rescue. um,
Absolutely true.
then of course I always tell people, find out what's the background of the rescue or of the dog, right? Was it born on the street? Was it born in a building? Was it born in a parking lot? Was it born inside of heavy jungle area? Was it born to a mother? Do you know the mother? Is the mother fearful? Is the mother still alive? How many siblings were in the litter? Did the sibling all survive or did they die? If they die, did the one that you're adopting, is that the last one left? Did that sibling uh, witness everyone's death? This is a lot of, these are very difficult questions, and you can't find them easily unless you go after the whoever rescued it. You find out, okay,
You have to
kaha,
urge
what,
for
all of that
questions.
information. But that information is important not only for you to decide whether you want to adopt this particular puppy, but also for us to tailor the training program later. Because
Very true.
depending on what it is as experience, then we can, uh, fine tune our training programs. Um, Often when
I
we
think
tell,
there's a lot, you're right, a little bit of their traits that help understand what they like and not like, or where you could fall into trouble, just like you said later. If you get that background in the beginning, I guess you're all set. Like you just, it's all clear, full picture in your mind.
yeah, so like I think what in foreign breeds we say, when we say, okay, what was it bred for, right? That's our main question we ask the thing, okay, and then we tailor the program, tell the owners, tailor, this is what we're going to address first, because okay, Beagle will have a very shitty recall, let's work with figure teaching them how, when we call their name, they should come to us. For an
Yeah.
equivalent thing for a desi dog would be like, I'll say, okay, so where was it born, what is it like, how was the mother, and all of that. And it really helps us then prioritize our training. That's the word, right? We prioritize the training accordingly.
Right.
um, are you a first time owner? Okay, if you're a first time owner in general, okay, like you've never had a dog, and then you're thinking of adopting a desi dog, then you are in a better position if you adopt a dog that has that's happy, right? Happy mother, happy father, happy litter, happy. You will have a happy experience, first experience of having a dog, and desi dogs are beautiful. I mean, for me, I mean, I'm a kind of person that I think I'm going to be Desi dog forever. It's like that. Even though I have some, I love Great Danes, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have a Great Dane, this and that, all of that. But now that I've experienced Desi dogs, I'm like, oh, I want to have a Desi dog. But for another person, who may not know the breed, who, let's say, has not interacted with strays in its life, and just going for
Right.
adopting a Desi dog, then I would always say, are you a first time owner? Because that information will help me place the um, right kind of dog in your house. And as I said earlier, be more practical, less emotional. Yes, Do these dogs need home? Yes. Um, do majority of the people not adopt desi dog? Of course. We
Yeah,
those who rescue dogs know how much they struggle in placing desi dogs. Given in that if it's a desi dog that's a female, and if it's a black female desi dog or looks in a particular way or whatever, doesn't get adopted. Um, but it doesn't necessarily mean that those dogs may do worse off if they were left on the street, or
right.
if you pass them over, right? Because there's nothing worse than getting one of these dogs home and then realizing, oh my God, I can't deal with it. It has changed my life completely. And this is an advice we give to any pet owners, right? It doesn't matter what breed they're getting. Get
Absolutely.
it for the right reasons. My other thing that I really promote, it doesn't work. I do promote, but it doesn't work. Is that I ask people, why not go for adult dogs, adult desi dogs? Okay.
Right.
Um,
I know you've been
some,
trying.
yeah,
So yeah, anyway.
and yeah, and somehow it happens also with some of the people who are going for foreign breeds. It's like they always think that if I get a puppy home, I'll bond better, which I don't think is true. Is that your dog kissing you? Yes. But I agree.
Totally.
I
Sorry.
I agree with the fact that uh, people who want to experience puppyhood. It's a beautiful phase, right? Everybody wants to experience puppyhood. So I can say, okay, go get a puppy. But when you come for desi dogs and you are coming with this thing that I want to adopt a desi dog or I want to get a desi dog home,
Yeah.
sometimes adults do. Do equally gives you the same amount of joy, and they're a lot of fun. So both my dogs, one I got at the age of 3, one I got at the age of 1. And guess what, I didn't have to do any puppy training because they came trained. Okay, didn't have to pee potty train them,
Yep.
didn't have to take care of some of these
Wow.
the teething issues, zero. Didn't have to teach them certain things. It comes,
Sounds like a dream, really.
yeah. And what's the biggest advantage is that you get a dog, we temperament test the dog, we basically figure out what is the dog's personality, what does it like, what does it not like, what problems it may have, what may not have. You can gauge what you're getting. What you see is what you get, right? There is no guesswork in it. Whereas when you get
Right.
a puppy, because sometimes we don't have the background, and sometimes of course personality develops with age, right? What you expect the puppy to be at 2 months,
That's,
as
oh
people
my God,
think.
you're very, very right about that.
Yeah, so I find that.
Surprises. Yeah.
Yeah. So even for foreign breeds, I say, and you'll be surprised how many adult foreign breeds are also out there, that either some people are looking to just they're finding homes or they're up for adoption. And I find adult adoptions are something that people should really think about, as well. Um,
Absolutely.
Temperament testing, as I mentioned, is something should be done for any dog that's coming home. But for once you've decided you want to get a desi dog home and you're adopting, and of course you're looking at, there are so many dogs up for adoption, it's unbelievable. um,
Yeah, yeah, for
be
sure.
patient, and at least go through a few, find out which one suits you, suits your personality, suits your lifestyle. Do you have children, don't have children? Depending on that, how does the dog do, how does the puppy do with all of these things in your life? And once you temperament test the dog, then we can again prioritize the training based on that, right? Um, you will not have any surprises when the dog suddenly shows you a certain behavior later on, and then be like, "Oh, I didn't expect my puppy to do this." You won't be surprised. And of course, uh, if somebody can help you engaging what the dog might predominantly might be in terms of its breed. So let's say when I got Alaska, just even when it was a 6 months old
Right.
dog, you knew that it was a hound. The way it looked, the way it behaved. Um, I don't know how he would
Sure,
have
the way
looked.
he runs also.
Yeah,
That gives
yeah.
out a lot, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm not sure how he looked when he was 2 months old, but I pretty much hounds look a particular way. They're slightly thinner,
Right.
longer tail. As you said, they have this energy about them about running and stuff. They also tend to be a little bit anxious. So if you know the background might be hound likes, let's say, for
Right.
example, then I know I'll include a lot of running, a lot of those kind of training skill, training in my program. So basically, if you knew a little bit of the skill set of the dog or the puppy,
Right.
depending on the breed traits, then we can again train accordingly. Um,
Now that you said that, there's one puppy that I helped a family adopt, pick, temperament test, all of that, and initially they were sort of giving, um, let's say, the wrong question. They were asking the wrong questions about getting the dog home, and it was going towards more towards the looks than anything else. And I said, no, it's the temperament, how the dog fits into your family, and all of that. And after a lot, and they were very very patient, we looked at multiple post litters, adoption requests from all over, and all of that. A lot of that happened, and eventually I think this the puppy that they chose is the closest to, let's say, Daisy and a Spitz mix, which is so cool. Like, I think they had a Spitz earlier, and I think they understood what an Indian Spitz was, and that puppy fit right into the family. So,
yeah, I
good
mean,
story.
yeah, and in general, I mean, this is what we say, right? You spend more time in buying a pair of clothes sometimes, or getting a sofa for your house. This
Yeah,
is a live thing you're thinking of getting home. So whether you're buying or adopting, you have spent that much amount of time researching the dog as well as figuring out which dog might suit your lifestyle the best, right? Um,
100%. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, all of these dogs, with the exception of maybe the toy breeds, which were specifically, let's say, bred for apartment style living, most of them are not meant to be just in an apartment. So I think it's important for people also to understand that um, it's a big commitment getting a dog, right? And you
it
should be
is.
willing to put in that much of effort. Um, with the desi dog also, they don't need a lot of space inside your house. They can fit into a small house. That's not an issue, how much of a big they are. But it also means that you have to compensate for its requirement outside elsewhere. We do weekend things. We do so many different things to um, satisfy their mindset. Okay, and especially if you keep this in
Very
the back of
much.
your mind that these dogs are coming from the street. Technically, even the puppy, genetically and everything, they're coming from the street. And uh, think about the street lifestyle. It's vast, it's fantastic in terms of experience and freedom and everything. And then when you get it into the house, but you don't want to provide that much of stimulation,
That's
then you're
not
going to
fair
have
on the
a
dog.
dog. Yeah, you have a dog that has all the energy and doesn't know what to do. And then it uses that energy to do things that you don't like. And that's where we say, oh, it's a badly behaved dog. So we should keep that in the back of our mind. Okay, so now once you get a desi dog home, let's say, uh, and what are the things should you keep in mind, right? That's the
Yeah,
next thing. So let's just show them the next slide, which is about red flags that will help you identify how to prioritize the area of your training, right? Um, Number one, which is sadly the reality, is that lot of these dogs, especially city rescues that are happening, um, they have a huge level of fear. So there are different things that we will work on, but we have many dogs that are coming in that not only because they're being rescued from really dire situations, something or the other has gone
right,
wrong, or sometimes over enthusiastic rescue also happens, right? Like some puppy didn't need rescue; it had a had the
right,
parent, had the sibling, could have easily done living on the street, and people feel bad and adopted, then realize it doesn't get adopted. So it spends X amount of time in the foster house and then it comes to your house. So you have those kind of dogs. You have dogs that have been born to fearful mothers, so they have fear. And then you have dogs who have witnessed some trauma or are injured, right? So they have injury based trauma. And of course, the other one is that they come in with a health issue. So either it's tick fever or parvo or something. So they were completely normal. And if they were on the street, they would survive.
right.
But because it's come into your house, you're doing this incessant vet visits, and now it has learned fear at the vets. Okay, it's not at the vets, but just because of that experience of falling sick and having to deal with it. Um, so the first thing that I check um, in these puppies, especially puppies. we'll talk about
Yeah.
adult dogs later, is that as soon as we enter, I check for the level of fear, and we do a different set of testing to see how scared the dog is. Is it scared stranger approaching? Is it scared of something falling? And it's not that you measure how scared it is, you measure how quickly does it bounce back from that fear, right? So
Yeah.
if you find a dog that is not able to bounce back from its fear of anything, and that can be the trigger can be anything, um, you need to prioritize that as your training point, right? Um,
I
and
think this is
remember,
absolutely the first thing that we check, just like you said, with a desi puppy or an indie puppy coming in, and especially I guess in an environment that's not where they are at. Uh,
yeah,
let's say in a building or wherever they're found, I think we try our best to take them out of that scene and then check there as well, right?
yeah. This is especially this is I'm talking that once a dog has been adopted and it is in a
Right,
family, right? So
right.
even as a pet owner, after maybe a week or 10 days or 2 weeks, it's good to get a behaviorist home and just check the level of fear, because if there's fear, then we have to be at it from day one, because we want to now teach the dog to overcome that fear. And that window to overcome the fear, as you and I know, is very shortly, right? By the time Mostly by the time they come to us, it's actually quite late. So my request to everybody who gets puppies, and they can be desi or non-desi, please get a trainer home in the very beginning. At least they can give you some kind of input as to
Yeah,
what to do, what not to do, and if there is an issue, we can spot it in the very beginning. um, the other thing that I see with desi dogs is some level of resource guarding, which whether that's food or whether that's territorial. What needs to be distinguished is this: um, is the little bit of and I don't want to use the word aggression, because then that stays in the mind of people who are not sure whether they
right,
want to get desi dog. But this behavior to guard food or behavior to guard a territory, some of it is obviously coming from the genetic background, right?
right.
Not only is that they were originally built for guarding, right? But also remember that um, because of their years on the street, or because of the years of the way they were bred and kept, desi dogs are not been pampered. They've never been pampered. If you go to a village and see a desi dog, they're not pampered.
Yeah,
They are meant to do their job. Okay, so food for them is not how do I say? They earn their food. Okay, so they're very serious
they
about
on
their
their
food.
food, absolutely.
Yeah, I call them, they're the foodies, equivalent of foodies. They're really serious about their food. And then when they come to an apartment where food is not an issue, right? They are getting high level of food, really high value food. Some of these desi puppies or dogs, they don't know how to deal with it. The emotion that they feel, oh my God, I got a full bowl of chicken and I have to eat it really fast and everything. So that can, if you were to check it on a scale, some of these dogs have really high um, guarding of their food, not because they're food aggressive, but because they are basically just desi dogs. So when there's a very
Yeah,
fine line where they can cause trouble and bite people in the house, right? Or they just need to be trained a little bit how to deal with their food. So resource guarding, if you see a little more than overboard of resource guarding, whether it's a food or territory, that's another red flag that you have to keep in mind. Um, of course, when biting is not teething, so most of the biting in the beginning, of course, is teething, the mouthing bit, but you should be easily able to train it out. But sometimes it's a little more prevalent, and that's not a
right.
desi thing, but it is prevalent. That's another red flag that you need to get um,
Sorted.
training
Yeah.
started on, right? Some of these dogs, based on their background breed, will also have a high prey drive, and that's also easily testable, right? Like you see a crow sit on the balcony, or you see a mouse squeak somewhere, you have somebody who's going nuts. Like Alaska will see a fly and go nuts, like nuts, matlab nuts, like
पीछा ही नहीं छोड़ेंगे.
yeah, and it will catch it and it'll eat it, right? So, and you will see that even in a puppy. So we also test that out a little bit, because then that is something we will, if then we figure that maybe it's traits up from a dog that was used for hunting and chasing, then we are going to try to take care of that on a training perspective as well. And of course, the last one, this is an issue with any buddy who already has an adult dog and now decides to get a puppy and now decides to get a desi puppy. The Desi puppy will, of course, say, I am smarter than you, which in most cases it is.
It
But
is
then it
true.
means,
Yeah.
it comes into the house and says, I'm smarter even than the owner, just that the owner doesn't know it yet, but I know it, right? So, and I am going to, dominate the house. And what goes for them is that because many of these dogs come with some kind of a sad story, there are owners who feel really bad for them, right? On an emotional level, the owners are compromised because they're like, oh, whatever. And that
Yeah. Yeah.
little bit of gap that the Desi dog sees, like, okay, now I'm going to utilize it. So I like to say that for Desi
This
dogs,
is so
uh,
smart, like really.
the level of manipulation will directly be proportional to how much confusion is there in home. So if you don't have like a set of rules, or if you don't know that you need to be, it's not being about strict, it's about just having things in place. If
Yeah.
you're not communicating well with your Desi dog, then your Desi dog is going to manipulate you and you're going to be in trouble. Okay. So in terms of training, we
That's
make
very
sure,
well put, actually. That's precisely how it happens.
right. And
You creep into that situation and you're just like, what happened? What
yeah.
happened, really?
Yeah, yeah. And especially when there are multiple dogs in the house, especially if you have one
Yeah.
adult dog also, it's the same thing that if you as an owner are not the right role model to guide your puppy, that say, look, this adult dog is your boss. And, if you don't set up the hierarchy right then from the very beginning,
Right.
then you do get a lot of dog to dog issues, which then become very difficult to handle. So finally, just coming to a final,
We have a
final.
question. Could we take that before we go
Yeah,
ahead?
sure,
Sorry.
sure.
I'm just going to read it out. This is Paramita Chaudhary. She said, I've adopted a 2-year-old Desi dog who has the perceptual tendency to run away to the streets if left free. And he also has a tendency to bite strangers, so I have to keep him chained, which is not my liking. I also have a 1-year-old Spitz with whom he is amiable. Please help. Thanks a lot.
Okay, so this is a good question to get into our last main topic, which is about training in Indy, right? Um, so, of course, the information that is missing is how long has she had the 2-year-old AC at home, and I'm assuming he tends to run away to the street because he's from the street, maybe just outside home or something.
Yeah, yeah. See,
So, just to give you a perspective, um,
sorry.
I had adopted Ruby off the street when he was 3 year old, and it took me almost 6 months to get him to become a completely indoor dog. And if you have the luxury of picking a dog into a house where you're staying right there, then I like to do this extended program where it spends time outside, then comes home, and then slowly increase the time inside the house. But of course, if it has this dog, like it says, it has a tendency to bite strangers, so most probably it's doing territorial behavior there, then you have to start training it. Number one, get a trainer. You need to start training your dog. Number two, if it's running away to the street, it means it's finding the life outside on the street much more um, appetizing and much more fulfilling. So you have to do a bunch of things with your dog that will make its life inside your apartment less boring. And it has to be, what I like to say, a little bit of more outdoor training, right? He's from the street, do a lot of things. So go for a trek, let's say, or have fun outside. I don't Yeah, so do a lot of training outdoors and have fun outside. You have to do a little bit of course, obedience training. And obedience training works really well if you've really bonded well with your dog. So you have to do a bunch of activities that is also good for bonding with a street dog. Ideally, you should just message one of the trainers and then get a trainer to come and evaluate your dog and carry on from there. Chaining will only make him frustrated, and that will bring back a bunch of other behavior issues that will be in trouble. Um,
Yeah.
if I were to then just talk about generally training in India, as I said, like how we were just talking before, prioritize depending on what might be the most obvious trait in the puppy. So let's say if it's fear, then we'll prioritize fear. If it is prey drive, then we'll prioritize prey drive training. If it's having mild food aggression or food guarding, then we'll prioritize that. So based on what you find is the most obvious trait in the dog that needs to be handled is where we start. Uh, for Desi dogs from day one, I say whether you have a behavior issue or not, uh, keeping them future in mind, do behavior training. And by behavior training, it means
Yeah,
it's a little different from regular training. Like it's not, oh, we teach you sit down and everything. We put them in, I like to put them in different situations that will be true to life in your life. Actually, behavior training should be done with all dogs.
absolutely.
But Desi dog even more, because if you want a Desi dog to be like a golden retriever, you have
That's
to
well said.
work
Yeah.
you have to work twice as hard, because a golden retriever will fetch you the ball 20 times and then look at you at the 21st time and say, can we do it again? Because it wants to please you. Daisy dog will look at you and say, hello, I know how to just fetch the ball. If you want the ball to be fetched, you might as well go pick it up yourself and come, right? So
I
they are
swear
just,
I've done that. No jokes, I've done that myself in the beginning as a trainer. I would fetch for a desi dog, like literally, because
yeah.
he got bored and nothing else. Maybe other games that he wanted to play interested him more. But this one, he was just like, I'm over this. I know it, but just don't make me do it again.
Yeah, and fetch is just an example. Even if you were doing other games, if you were not, as I said, one step ahead, and you were not doing it from a behavior perspective, then they pretty much will say, "I know what you're trying to do. I'm not going to do it just because you're telling me to do it. Figure it out." So I like to start behavior training as soon as a desi dog comes home. The other thing that I like, which is true for any dog that comes home, treat them like dogs, please. I know we are living in
That's
this
very important.
thing where we say that uh, oh, they are our children. We nowadays don't even use words like pet owners, and we call ourselves pet parents, or we call ourselves mom and dads to the dogs, and all of that is fine. You can do all the loving and the cuddling and everything, but at some basic level, remember that they're dogs. So when you treat a desi dog, over pamper them or over indulge them, which by which I mean that you are blurring the lines, or blurring the rules that should exist in your house, and then suddenly you expect them to behave. They don't understand it, they get confused. So if you I have a fearful dog that I was training last week, and for everything that the dog was doing well, the parent was like, "Oh my bacha," and everything, and petting and petting and petting, not realizing that over petting was causing the dog to be underconfident. Right? It's such a simple thing. Like if you
Right.
want the dog to be confident, then you have to pretend that oh, you're doing a good job, and not overindulge the dog. So sometimes treating the dog like a dog helps you improve your training as well.
I was just
And
going to
especially,
ask, in fact, whether this could well, I can't say encourage, but not reduce separation anxiety or insecurity in dogs as well. Because anyway, they come from a lot of them possibly come from a place where they don't know where they're at, and especially puppies that have been gone from one foster to the other. Eventually, they come and they settle, and if we then start treating them like well, one is feel sorry for them, I guess, on some level, and just go with that thought more than the other, which is, hey, that's now my dog. It could possibly lead to a higher, level
yeah.
of behavioral issue like separation anxiety, or then it's difficult for you to leave the house even when it gets to that.
Right, and this is especially true during the pandemic, right? Because everybody is home, and it's true for all the dogs that have come during pandemic that we need to be a little extra careful about the separation anxiety and everything. And for a desi dog, because as you said, there is history in terms of how they were rescued. Then you have to be even more careful about it. And while all dogs, I preach that all dogs should be trained, should have an outdoor life, because life in
Yes.
an apartment can be extremely boring. But and you can think out of the box for apartment training. But especially for desi dogs, I really like to encourage a lot of outdoor training, and by outdoor training, it means simply going on a walk in a street is also outdoor training, right? Just the dog
Yes.
focusing on you, properly walking on the leash. Nowadays, a lot of dogs are born into the are bought into these complexes, right? And these complexes have nice gardens and nice driveways. But the dog, all that is seeing is a driveway, 24/7, morning, afternoon, evening. And I tell people, exit the gate, go and meet, go outside. Then they get a little bit scared of the dogs that are outside. And I said, yeah, but that's part of the
Right.
training. How do you teach your dog to ignore outside dogs? So do a bit of outdoor training. That really, really helps. That really takes and do it start as early as possible for puppies as well. And from there, from that outdoor training, of course, it also means that you're socializing these dogs well, right? And
Absolutely.
socializing, as we know, you and I know, is about exposing the dog, such that it has a positive experience. It is not about doggies making doggy friends. It's about doggy knowing how to ignore other dogs. And that's exactly what I was saying, that you take your dogs out, it should be able to ignore other dogs. And then, of course, it can have friends, but it should behave well. And with a desi
Yeah.
dog, I like to say perhaps overdo it, you know, because from a genetics perspective, they are not dogs that how do I say? Okay, easier way to put it is, can you take a retriever into a cafe? Of course, it's going to be much easier for a dog like that. But a desi dog going to a cafe, maybe from a genetic point of view, I think it's a little harder. Plus, also remember that when you take a retriever into a cafe, five people are gonna say, "Oh, so cute," and there's so this thing about it. You take a desi dog to a cafe, they're gonna be like, "Is he friendly? Should we come? Can we pet?" That thing changes, right? And that body language changes the way the dog sees the world. So it's also important to
That's sad.
socialize in many, many, many different situations where, from the puppy time or as early as you can, that they understand how people react. And even though they react that way, doesn't mean that it's a bad experience, right? It's going to be good. So overdo
Yeah.
it in that sense. What I mean by overdoing the socialization, let them meet kids, let them meet other dog, let them do all that we say are doing socialization. We have a nice list. The trainers have the
Yes.
list, okay? So if you want the in, get in touch. But yeah, go ahead and get an indie home. But as my parting words would be like, get a happy puppy home. And if you are experienced enough, of course, you can get other rescue dogs home, but then start on their training, start on their behavior training, and get as much help as you can.
And I think you were right. These
Yeah.
words are going to stay with me as to, all of our aim is to keep that puppy in your house for their life. And we should work as a team for that. That's the only way that could happen. So, work as a community that understands, trains
Yeah.
well, and gets them through
And
their life. Yeah.
yeah, that's the main aim of it. Like, um, and as I said, I have desi dogs, okay, and they make wonderful pets. You just have to understand them better. So this podcast is all about you understanding how different or how similar they might be to other dogs, and how much more or less work you might have to put in certain areas of their training and behavior.
Right.
Yeah,
This was awesome. Thank you so much.
it was good talking to you. Thank you. I was,
Thank you for
yeah,
everyone.
I had fun.
Uh, I had fun as well. There are some things, like I said, including Tuffy's image, that's going to stay with me forever now. So this was so much, very much needed, I think, and it was very, very well put. So thanks a lot. Speak soon.
That's good. And if anybody has any other
Bye.
question, we'll
Yeah.
check the Facebook comments in some time, and then we will answer as and when we get the time. Yeah. Uh, okay. Have fun. Have a good weekend that's coming up. See you,
Good
Praddy.
night, all.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.